Hey guys and girls, just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Buzzsprout. Start a podcast today with free podcast hosting for Buzzsprout, easy podcasting software for hosting, promoting, and tracking your podcast. Buzzsprout is the best way to publish a podcast online for secure and reliable hosting to full iTunes support. Get started for free, no credit card required, cancel at any time.
Stats are for losers.
That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Welcome to the Airin podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Jets Island, brought to you by the Airing It Out podcast. I am your host, Dustin Marion. I want to welcome back Harrison Glaser from Take Flight Media, the CEO, and now he's telling me he's a podcaster too. Welcome to the community, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I always did I do a show for IE Sports Radio on Wednesdays, which was like all New York sports, but I'm a big Jet guy and I love football, and yeah, I just wanted a place to like do that. So yeah, I started my own podcast on Mondays. I call it the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast.
Nice.
So, spitting that fire, yeah.
That's the
Mondays. Yeah, it's
Mondays,
live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube at 7 p.m. I'd love for people to
Man, that's amazing. For sure. We'll put all the links in there, get you more stuff. I know you was writing. First of all, I want to say super excited as a fellow creator to another creator. The last we spoke, you had started your own blog, right? Take Flight Media. And then now you're doing the YouTube channel. So that's amazing, bro. It's so crazy how much happens in such a small time. But I know that this is something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm happy that you finally figured out a way to get it done.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, it's actually gone beyond the blog now. I'm a regular Jets website, takeflightmedia.org. I own the company. It's my company. I have some writers that write for me as well. It's going really awesome.
Oh, man. Legit. That's what I'm talking about. It couldn't have happened to a nicer and cooler dude. And we're still teaching too, right?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I got to balance it all. So
isn't it crazy with the day job and then trying to have hobbies?
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, especially because with teaching, it's a lot of a lot of work, a lot of lesson planning, a lot of grading and whatnot. But it's good. I mean, I love it, and football is a passion of mine. So it was fun to make passion a job, and it's taken off on Twitter. I appreciate. Shout out to all my followers. Love you guys. It's been going great. People checking out my website. Podcast is going legit now, and yeah, it's awesome.
Well, you know your stuff. You're dialed, and I'm always excited to talk not only to a fellow New Yorker, fellow Jets fan, and someone who knows what they're talking about. Because we have a lot of fans sometimes that just be yelling from the top of their lungs, and God bless them, but it's not always smart stuff.
Nah, it's true, man. I forgot the comedian. I think it was Colin Quinn who he pointed out that if you could go back to 2014-ish, 2012 or whatever, and tell people, I'm going to make a platform where everybody that's got an opinion can just say it, whatever's on their head, just all the time. You'd be like, don't do that. That's great. But here we are.
I know. Well, and that was another thing I was going to ask you, but COVID seemed to change the landscape for a lot of people. I also think that one of the cool things that came out of COVID was that creators who were potentially maybe thinking they were too old or they passed their time or whatever the case might have been, having that extra time allowed them to really, really, really sow into some of the dreams that they might have left on the shelf, because the real world takes so much of your time, and being able to be home and now, allocate time to do stuff is amazing. I wanted to ask you, because we never really dived into it. What grade do you teach?
I do a little bit of all. I teach global history as well as U.S. history. So I teach 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Nice. First of all, that was the
I
class.
do high school level.
That was the class I always excelled in. I loved global studies. That was always a good time. So thanks for being one of those guys. Most of my favorite teachers were global studies teachers. So it's always awesome to learn not only about history, geography, and some of the other things out there. So let's not get too behind ourselves and not bury some of the leads. It's been amazing to see what some of the what the front office has done. It looks different than what's been done in the past, but I don't want to bury the lead and say, because I think something that a lot of us were hopeful for was potentially maybe landing Deshaun Watson. Would you want Deshaun with the allegations if you guys could get him?
I mean, the way I don't think it's going to happen at this point. Like, that's the whole, and that's the unique situation of it. I mean, the fact that the allegations came up when they did, at the timing they did, like right, when a potential trade could go down, right before free agency began, right before the draft begins. It was nuts. I mean, at first I figured, it was one person, and then all of a sudden it's multiple people. And, there could definitely be legitimacy behind it. If there is legitimacy, then I hope there is reckoning. I hope that, that something is done about it. And I hope that, these women aren't silenced. But it's just very weird the way it came about and the timing of when it came about and, like, the connections this lawyer has to the Texans. And I'm like, trying to remember, he did this weird thing with a billboard. He was trying to, I think, convince the team to move somewhere. I'm trying to remember, but, like, it's a weird situation. Like, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I was one of the biggest people banging the table for Deshaun. Like, even when everybody had totally moved on, I was like, yeah, this could happen. I have, like, excellent video takes out of, like, this is why this could definitely happen. And I still think, like, if it were going to happen, that we're still the best team for, all the reasons I've laid out in the past. But I've just accepted, it's just, no matter what, it's not going to happen at this point. Because the NFL draft is coming up. You can't go in with that kind of uncertainty. You don't know what's going on. I mean, right now, the Texans have created this, whether, right now they have this uncertainty for themselves, too, of what they could potentially have to do. Because who knows what's going to wind up happening with Deshaun Watson. So I think, at this point, I've always been a huge guy on Zach Wilson. You look at my videotapes and all my other takes, I've always been huge on him. And I think he's going to easily be the pick.
All right, cool. So let's switch gears to there. Usually I know you got my email with the show notes and stuff like that. I want to flip it on its head for a second really quickly. So let's go with Zach Wilson. So I agree. I think at this point, I mean, it would have been interesting that if you would have took him and maybe, I don't know, maybe the Texans were trying to smudge him, let's say, for him to stay, because in the opposite way, now you would get him for peanuts potentially, right? Like, there's no way he would still claim maybe some of the high draft status that he once was before all of this, because he was checking all the boxes. He had a clean, off the field record. He was great on the field. It seemed like a leader and a champ. That's what I was saying to follow you on Twitter heavy. I know you like Zach Wilson. Are we officially done with Sam Darnold?
I mean, that's a great question. You remember I was the biggest, for Sam Darnold. I was on his side for, the whole season. I felt like all the reasons I've been saying that, everything you could think, the coaching was the problem, that he didn't have a solid team around him. He was set up for failure, everything. I had it all. But, I mean, I started to look at quarterbacks like around October-ish, and I just fell for Zach Wilson. I have a whole, if you guys, like I said, check out my podcast, I have my whole first episode, because I've been saying for a long time, like back in October, that Zach Wilson is unbelievable, that he checks all the boxes that I look for NFL translatable talent, the things that I specifically look for that not apparently everybody does. I notice they don't talk about the things I talk about. And cerebral traits, specific cerebral traits that I see. Loved what I saw in the kid. And by falling for him, I was able to objectively, step back from that, that fan, that homer perspective of, Sam's my quarterback. And I accepted the fact. You look at the numbers. I mean, yeah, he struggled because of Gase. He struggled because of everything. But he was still the worst quarterback in the league. He's still statistically one of the worst in the last couple of years, period. I mean, the NFL released an NFL index, I believe it was just 2 days ago or so. And the only quarterbacks ranked below Sam Darnold, there's out of 50-something of them, he's I think 39 or 40, and everyone ranked below him as a backup, like a guy that played a couple of games. So I kind of just came to the realization that, sure, with an excellent team around him, top talent, good coaching, he could be good. But he's never going to be again, whatever happens to Deshaun Watson, he's never going to be at that level. He's never going to be elite. He's never going to be a top 5 quarterback. And because of that, it was easier for me to just move on to Zach. And again, everything I look for in a quarterback, I've seen in him, see it in spades. He blows my mind. Like I was saying back in October, November, that this kid was the second best quarterback in the draft by far. That I was even saying, people tell me I was nuts. I was saying that he's actually, in my opinion, closer to Lawrence. Because what the things I look for, that he's closer to Lawrence than people realize, and well closer to Lawrence than anybody is closer to him. And it's crazy. It's like about 4 months ago or so, like maybe December-ish, January, it's like everyone started saying the same thing. All the top analysts were all of a sudden saying that Zach Wilson is this unbelievable talent. He's close to Trevor Lawrence. Heck, I think even Joe Theismann said he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm pretty confident he said. So, for what I look for, this kid has it in spades. I've been this way for a long time. There's no one else I'm taking with that second overall pick. It's just not happening.
All right, and then really quickly, just so that I know, because I know you're so dialed, this is the kid from BYU, correct?
Yep.
All right, so this is my thing. This is my question and kind of statement and put together. We do this almost every season, right? And I'm not specifically speaking to you because I want to dive into some of the traits that you were able to elevate him and find him more interesting and more beneficial for the Jets. But we gush against guys all the time, and they come into the league and they don't really do things. I mean, I don't think Sam Darnold came in with such high precedent. I was always worried about Sam Darnold. I've watched a lot of football, and usually guys that play in warm weather situations don't translate well to playing at MetLife. That place, it gets cold, there's weather. I don't think he has played that many games in inclement weather, but whether it was the coaching staff, people not believing him suffering some weird and strange injuries, the best ability is availability, and he wasn't able to do that. Plus the times that we did see him. I mean, I know, shout out to New York Jet Mike and Matt. The game that scared me the most is when he's out there and they caught him on ESPN saying he's seeing ghosts. So I don't know if he was ever the guy. I also think that he kind of came in a little bit with, and I know it's college, but he didn't have that many collegiate starts. And again, it was USC. They don't play anybody. So now I look at this gentleman from BYU and I'm like, I kind of feel the same thing. Now, granted, I know this guy threw a ton, right? Like he has over 40 touchdowns last season. I mean, he was slinging like a mofo. I hope it translates great, but every year we get guys in. I mean, I'm drawing a blank, but Joe Burrow was the last dude. I mean, Baker Mayfield came in like he was going to be the greatest since sliced bread, and he wasn't really that great. And then, you look at what Mitch Trubisky got drafted early, and no one even knew what Patrick Mahomes was like, and now Patrick Mahomes catch fire, and Deshaun Watson behind him. And then we look at, people thought it was going to be crazy for the Ravens to take Lamar Jackson at 32, and he ends up translating. Granted, he's not a pure pocket passer, but sell me, if I was someone on your staff and we were on the front office and I wanted to go another direction, tell me some of these amazing intangibles that you see from Zach Wilson that you would sell me on to be like, hey man, this guy's a slam dunk.
I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot in him, and I would totally recommend for everybody. I was asked that question a lot because people remembered. They were like, man, you were saying this back before everybody else was. Like you were saying all these things that he was, unbelievable and checked all the boxes that you look for, and that he was, second best by far. Like I always knew I wasn't big on Fields, and I think I'd mentioned that on podcasts with you previously. Like even before I fell for Zach, like I knew I didn't want Justin. And so in this, my first episode, I give the people what they wanted because everyone's been asking that. So it's literally it's like an hour worth of literally me just, breaking down Wilson, breaking down Fields. But in a nutshell, I mean, it's specific translatable traits. Like, for example, like I talk about it in that first episode of podcast, people put videos up on Twitter. They're like, check this out. The kid drops back, throws a deep ball, receiver makes a great catch, 800 likes. Everybody goes crazy. That's amazing. Man, I don't give a shit. I mean, he threw a deep ball. Okay, everyone can throw a deep ball. James Morgan, our 4th-round pick, he throws a hell of a deep ball. That kid's got a great arm. People get too wrapped up in the wrong things. And just like what I look for, like with Zach Wilson, there's a lot. But the main thing, if you want it, you can see it if you watch any of his games, specifically the BYU game, his pocket presence is ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. Like his ability to, and again, it's split second. Like I explained in my podcast, it's innate. he has this innate reaction time where he's able to, within microseconds, decipher, how defenders are lined up and how his linemen are going to adjust and play. In the pocket, he's so fluid. I've been comparing him for the longest time to Russell Wilson. And a lot of people want to compare him to Mahomes. He's Russell Wilson in the pocket, man. I've never seen anyone move like that. When you watch Russell, you've seen it. They've decided to never give him an offensive line because of his innate ability, yet he still won a Super Bowl because it's just the unbelievable ability to sense where the pocket breaks down and step at the same time. It's the timing of it. It's literally within microseconds, and it blows my mind. The first time I saw it, I was like, okay, maybe that's a fluke. And then he kept doing it. And then I kept watching games, and it just kept happening. And that's something you can't teach. These are things that can't be taught. Like with Justin Fields, I get to it all, for example, with him, he tends to sometimes, I've seen him step into the pressure, but because he's so unbelievably athletic, he gets away from it. You can teach somebody pocket awareness, but you can't teach that maintenance. Like, you can't make somebody Russell Wilson in the pocket. That's not possible. You can make them good. You can give them better awareness. So Zach, he does everything you'd want. I mean, he's got an amazing arm, excellent deep ball, good accuracy. He puts the ball in excellent windows. Another thing I love about him, on most plays, he tries to put the ball where the defender won't be able to get it, which is something I really like about him, because it's not just, just being accurate, it's about putting in specific windows. But that pocket awareness, that's it for me. That alone just sold me, and then everything else was just, he's unbelievable. Zach Wilson is going, I'm sold.
I always love how passionate you are when you're describing some of these players. I think I'm sold.
And I'm just trying to keep it small. That's the thing. It's it's hard to explain. I have it with receivers. I get into it on, I get into it on Twitter. I get into it on my podcast. I view things differently. I look at it differently. I've noticed my whole life, and a lot of analysts have looked at it. And it's, for me, it's not 100% track record, but it seems to work out, and it's unique, and it's hard to verbalize because it's almost like I see it and I know what I'm looking for, so it's hard to get it all out. Like examples I give it, wide receivers and edge rushers. So many people get caught up in measurables. Like, this guy can't line up here because he's too small, or this guy can't line up here because he's not tall enough. Man, I hate that crap. I'm like the opposite of the combine. Because, if you want to go by measurables, you want a tall quarterback. You would have overlooked Kyler Murray. You would have overlooked Russell Wilson in this draft alone. Devonta Smith.
Drew Brees, a lot of these smaller players.
Yeah, and Devonta Smith in this coming draft. The kid weighs 175 pounds, soaking wet.
That's the Bama wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
That kid looks a beast.
No, he is. But if you just look at the measurables, you'd be like, this kid can't be a wide receiver one. He's too small. But he's physical. He's got excellent catch ability, catch radius. He's physical at the point of attack. Again, I get into this thing I call, where I get my own terms about getting separation versus creating separation. He's able to actually create separation. He makes NFL-style catches. And again, just size-wise. For example, you take a guy like Kadarius Toney and Dwayne Eskridge. They're almost identical in measurements, but they're physically different players. Kadarius Toney, he can get separation. He's agile as hell. He's quick. He's fast. He's going to make an excellent slot receiver in the NFL. Maybe one of the best slot receivers in the NFL in the next coming years, possibly. But the kid's not made to line up on the outside. He's not physical enough. He's not going to win contested catches. He's not going to be able to, make that, catch in tight coverage to be able to, like I said, create separation when someone's on top of you. But Dwayne Eskridge, same measurables, he totally can. When I look at a guy like Dwayne Eskridge, a later round pick, I see T.Y. Hilton in that kid. He's physical, he's strong, he's got strong arms, and he's able to create that separation. So it comes down to stuff like that. And again, I love to talk about it because it's just, I've always felt, I look at things differently than what a lot of these guys say. And then I find out, down the road, they wind up saying what, similarly to what I said, or that guy winds up being great, and everyone's like, oh, who would have thought it? So it's just interesting. It's a unique perspective, I would say.
Well, I'm so happy that we were able to link up, because I think maybe when people talk to you or look at your Twitter, it seems that you have just a Jet bias, but that's not entirely true, man. You have such great understanding and knowledge of not only the overall game, but being able to see other players and evaluate other teams. And I'm sure with the Jets being so bad, you've probably found a hobby to just watch other guys in the NFL because you get an opportunity to look at some of the other stuff. Because that's what kind of happens to me a little bit. You know, every year is a little souring, and so I got to kind of watch other teams. But I love that. I wanted to move on really quickly because I have a lot that I wanted to cover with you, and I know that it's getting late on the East Coast. Right now, I am, but I'm going to say you must be super excited with the way Joe Douglas has handled this offseason, correct?
I am thrilled, and I think too many Jet fans weren't at first. They were too busy trying to see the forest through the trees, and they couldn't. I'm telling you, it's just, he lit it up, man. He had a great offseason. I would love to talk about it.
Yeah, so he hires, obviously, a diversity coach. I wanted the offensive coordinator from Kansas City, but I also do think that if you don't have the talent around you at this point, because we don't know if they're going to take Wilson or who ends up being in the draft, I think it's always good to have a defensive-minded coach, only because this gets you through the trenches until you can find your guy. Now, obviously, you want to hire better coordinators and quarterback coaches to bring those guys along. But tell me a little bit about your feeling with Joe Douglas hiring our new coach.
Yeah. So what's interesting is, at the time, everybody wanted offensive guys, and I was the same way. I wanted the Bills' offensive coordinator. Everybody, wanted guys. Everyone was looking offense. But when Robert Saleh came into the building, it was amazing. It was like Jets Twitter uniformly, fell in love with this guy. Everyone was like, hire this guy. This has got to be the guy because of his energy. We realized that we're not hiring an offensive or defensive guy, and that's not what Robert Saleh is going to be. Robert Saleh is going to be a GM-like head coach, like what the Giants have done with Joe Judge. He brings in an offensive guy. He brought in a defensive guy. I remember when they first brought him in, I was saying, it's just a matter of time till he brings in a defensive coordinator because, that makes the most sense for him to have the role he's going to have. So he's just going to be a head coach, and he's everything you want. I mean, he's a motivator. He's fiery. He's energetic. The players, we haven't had a guy like this since Rex Ryan. That's what we got to look at it as. We haven't had a guy where the players would run through a wall for this guy. They would stake their reputation on this guy. You couldn't turn a locker room against him if you tried. He's got the energy. He's got the mentality, but also he's got a winning pedigree. With San Francisco, his defense was top-notch. He did a lot when his players were hurt, even last year. We can get into it. Joe's done a fantastic job of bringing in talent in free agency. Just fantastic job. But he also brings in LaFleur. And LaFleur is a very interesting offensive situation because LaFleur learned from Kyle Shanahan, which, Kyle uses his father's offense. It's a unique variation of the West Coast. It's not actually the regular West Coast. It's a variation offense that Mike Shanahan actually created. Kind of the way you would look at it is, and you don't really want to typecast it. That's the thing, is it's very unique. But if I had to, I would say, a West Coast tends to have more of elusive quickbacks and short passes. The Shanahan offense tends to be more of a power formation with deep passes, but it has the other one as well. It's a unique combination of, it's uniquely created. And you have to remember, LaFleur's older brother as well is Matt LaFleur. And, Matt LaFleur is the head coach of the Packers, and he's killing it there. He's killing it so much. Remember, Aaron Rodgers, when he came in, said, yeah, this is the best situation I've been in. I've never played this well. I've never been so happy and so successful in offense since he came in. So I'm just excited for him, for LaFleur, bringing in the combo, what he's learned from his brother and what he's learned from Kyle. Robert, they've done great. They brought in a good quarterback coach who has tons of years of experience. This guy's been around 15 years. He's coached for 9 different teams. So it's interesting, but it's all good stuff. Jet fans, they unanimously wanted Robert Saleh. Everyone was wanting him so bad. All Jets Twitter wanted him. Then when he left the building, Twitter went nuts. Then the Jets hired him. And it was the first time Jet fans got something they wanted. It was the first time that unanimously they all wanted something and the team delivered. And it was the beginning of that, with Joe Douglas changing the culture. Robert Saleh comes in, changes the culture. And that's what this is. This is a culture change.
Yeah, no, we've been needing it for a long time. I even think that I love Rex, but it looked like towards the end they kind of got dysfunctional, even though he had guys really believing in him. But this guy, Robert, from the moment I seen him on TV, I was like, who is this dude? He's running out, smacking butts, getting guys fired up. When he was the defensive coordinator for the Niners, I mean, I've never seen any position coach or coordinator be so jovial, be so exciting on the sideline. I mean, guy was just unbelievable. So I'm excited. Now I want to ask you, it looks like this D's getting some beef on it. We get Sheldon Rankins. We get LaMarcus Joyner. They pick up Carl Lawson. They get Vinny Curry. I mean, is this defense going to be snuffing guys out? Because a lot of these guys are hard hitters and get to the quarterback and smother offensive players.
No, without a doubt, man. It's the free agency has been incredible. Again, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about with each of these players. But I mean, Carl Lawson is one of the biggest ones. I mean, Lawson just, if you look at his stat numbers on the surface, the guy had 8.5 sacks his first season, and then he had 11.5 over the course of the next 3. So I was like, okay, he had a good rookie season. He got stuff he needs to work on. But man, I'm glad I chose to dig deeper because I thought, like Leonard Williams, he was always a productive player. He was always, a top-notch guy. The numbers just weren't there. So I decided to dig a little deeper. This season, in 2020, do you know how many times Carl Lawson hit the quarterback?
I think I've seen your thing, so I don't want to mess it up. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. What's the actual number?
The first time I saw it, I was like, that can't be real. I was like, that's a mess up. Like somebody made an oopsie here. I had to check it in like 3 places. Carl Lawson got to the quarterback 32 times. I mean, Quinnen Williams, the most dominant Jets player last year, got to the quarterback 14 times. That's more than double. The year before that, Carl Lawson got to the quarterback 22 times. That's 54 QB hits in just 2 seasons. That tells you, that the sack translation wasn't there, but the production is there. And the best example I give people is like Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett, when he was with the Broncos, didn't have the big numbers. But if you look at PFF, because I was huge on him, I wanted him, he had years with 1.5 sacks. Yet he has a PFF score of 84. How many edge rushers it's their job to get to the quarterback, and they have 1.5 sacks, yet they have a PFF grade of 84. That was like his whole career. Next year he's got 2.5 grade of 82 because he always played at an unbelievably high level. The numbers just weren't there. The production wasn't there. And that's how it is with Lawson. Same thing, with QB knockdowns, which is a deeper statistic. Because, it's great to hit the quarterback, but it's better to take him down, bring him to the earth. That's the best way to do it. Carl Lawson in 2020 had 27 QB hits. That ranked first in the whole NFL. First out of everybody. Number 2 was TJ Watt, who had 26 QB hits, and he had 15 sacks. So what that literally tells you, that Lawson's at that level. The numbers just haven't been there. It hasn't translated. So I, digging deeper as well, because I'm curious why that is. Another stat I found, TJ Watt was sent on the blitz of opposing QBs 91 times last year and had 15 sacks. You know how many times Lawson was sent on a blitz? I thought it was weird. I couldn't believe it.
0?
5.
Wow.
5. So he was sent on a blitz 5 times, but he had 5.5 sacks. That tells me you send him on a blitz, he delivers. That's what that means. You send him, he gets there. And again, the 54 QB hits over 2 years, 27 QB knockdowns last season. Man, Lawson in the right system, featured as an edge rusher, blitzing the quarterback. He could be what we haven't had since John Abraham. We haven't had an elite edge rusher in 20 years. Joe Douglas might have gotten us an elite edge rusher.
It also seems like they added some beef, right? So not only with the edge rushers, if I may here for a second, not only with the edge rushers, now you got some backup, now you got some versatility. It looks like they'll be able to kind of wheel guys out. I mean, because when you're 6'6", 290, the gas tank kind of gets empty quick. and these guys are going 100 miles an hour. So it looks like Robert might have an opportunity to even have more chances to switch up the line and go after the quarterback, which I think is dynamic and is going to be awesome. Tell me, because I seen you talk about it, and I think you posted one of his videos. Because I love Lawson too. I love a lot of these guys. But how excited? No, forget him too. I can't wait. I can't wait to Joyner starts laying the wood on fools. Please tell me a little bit about this guy.
Yeah, I would love to, because same thing. I don't get what was going on with Jet fans. I think the issue was, everybody wanted the big name. Everybody wanted like Joe Thuney. That was it. And I wanted him too. I mean, I had Joe Thuney on my list. I was all excited. But if I may just, tangent a little bit for a second, because I think it's so important. So many people, when we didn't get Joe Thuney, they were like, oh, man, that's it. It's over. That's it. Anything else they do sucks. But Joe Thuney literally said he chose the Chiefs. It's not like the Jets didn't have an offer in. He chose the Chiefs. And let's be honest, you're a veteran player, one of the best in the league, with multiple suitors. Yeah, makes sense. You're not choosing the Jets. You're choosing the Chiefs. So I feel like so many people went into free agency thinking the quarterback was the problem. Having a question mark at quarterback is the problem. But it doesn't seem to be, because we signed Corey Davis. Corey Davis was a big signing. And Davis literally said, I don't care. He said it just, I think it was 2 days ago. He's like, I don't care if Sam's the quarterback. I don't care who the quarterback is. Basically what he said. He's like, if Sam's there, I'm ready to rock. If another guy's there, I'm going to roll. That's just what it's going to be.
Wow, amazing.
So what that proves, though, is it wasn't the quarterback. It's deeper than that. What we didn't realize, it's the culture. If you have a guy like Thuney, again, that's a top guy, and his choice is the Jets or the Chiefs. The Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, a team that just won a Super Bowl. I mean, shit, I love my Jets, but I think I'm choosing the Chiefs. So it makes sense. So what we need to do is we're not going to get those guys. We need to accept that. We're not going to get the top guy
that
everybody's sitting on. That's it. No, that's exactly it, man. That's what I'm saying. We need to focus on what we can do, the guys we can get, the talent Joe can find, and build through the draft. The draft is what matters. The draft is where it's at. Let Joe build this team. Let him create a winning culture with Robert Saleh. Let them, win a couple, be a winning team, a playoff caliber team. Then the goal should be 3 years down the road. That's when a guy like Joe Thuney is going to choose the Jets. That's what we got to be looking at.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you mentioned LaMarcus Joyner, man. That's the thing. So many people were like, oh, he's a defensive back, but he's not that good as a corner. Yeah, because he's not a corner. If you look at LaMarcus Joyner, it doesn't make sense to me. In college, he was a fantastic safety. He gets to the NFL, the Rams pigeonhole him as a quarterback, and he sucked. Let's be honest. As a slot quarterback, I think he had like almost 4,000 snaps at slot quarterback. He graded at 60.2. He was garbage. But at the limited times they played him at free safety, which was about 1,500 snaps over the course of his whole career, he has a PFF grade of 90.1.
Wow.
90.1.
Wow.
And that's what people have to realize, man. Because we thought, May and Adams, that was going to be the meal ticket, our safety tandem.
Right.
We got the safety tandem now. You got Joyner at free safety, who is quick, agile, ball hawk. He can, get it all over the field. Then you got May at strong safety, who's a big hitter that can also play in the box. And don't forget Ashton Davis, the guy we drafted last year. That kid is a burner, fast. He could play in the slot potentially, but he's also another box safety. Don't forget last year, he blasted Cam Newton in the face so hard that 260-pound quarterback had to come out of the game for a couple of plays. So, man, Joyner was a fantastic sign. I know Douglas is going to look at it. He's going to see this kid's a free safety. Put him at free safety, pair him up with May, bring in Ashton Davis in three safety sets. Man, I'm telling you, there's so much that's been done, but Joe Douglas, he kills it, man. People didn't realize it. When you look at it as a whole, he freaking killed it. The only holes we have right now that are massive holes are the interior of the offensive line and cornerback. And you know what? That's what the draft's for. And I've been tweeting it out. You guys check out my Twitter. I've been putting out my new mock draft. If Joe does that,
yeah, I just seen it. It was like quarterback, center, guard, and DB, right? Was that accurate?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly it. Yep. So you got Zach Wilson at 2. Ain't budging on that. Again, I recommend anybody check out my,
No, you
first
got me.
podcast.
You got me electrified. You got me electrified. I'm gonna go watch some YouTube videos.
You'll fall for it, man. I'm telling you. And it's interesting. It's tough for me because, again, I know what I'm looking for in my mind and I'm processing it. So it was difficult for me to verbalize all of it, but I think it came across pretty well. I think it did.
I know it came out. It came out amazing. Yeah. No. Yeah, I seen the tape too. He has a presence.
I know what I'm looking for.
I know you do. You've been watching.
A million pieces being put together, but it's always hard to verbalize those million pieces.
I got you, brother. No kidding.
But, so first pick, Zach Wilson, number 2 overall, done deal. After that, the interior of the offensive line is a black hole. And again, I've been tweeting it out for a while. The center position, man. The center position is one of the most underappreciated, most important positions on any football team. Because the center is more than just a blocker. He's not making just a block or a check or taking an assignment. He's the second quarterback. He's not just the leader of the offensive line. He's the second leader of that entire offense. Think back to guys like Nick Mangold. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about cerebral traits. How many times did we see Nick audible the line? He points to something, shows Sanchez, that this shifted.
He might be my favorite Jets player of all time because he was so brilliant.
I have his jersey, man. I love Nick Mangold. Nick Mangold is definitely, without a doubt, one of my favorite Jets of all time because he was a beast. He was a mauler. He was a fantastic blocker, strong as hell, but he was underappreciated in those cerebral aspects. And those cerebral aspects, not every center has it. I mean, most don't. I'm not going to just knock Connor McGovern. Most centers in the NFL don't have it. And that's why I feel like when you find someone that does, it's like, and that guy, without a doubt, is Creed Humphrey. Man, Creed Humphrey is unbelievable. You watch him, he's pointing stuff out at the line, he's shifting the line, he's making adjustments.
What university? What university?
He is Oklahoma.
Okay, that's a good place. That's a good place to come out of.
Kyler Murray, vouchers for him. When Murray came out, Murray was saying, all this great stuff about him, how fantastic he was, how he credits a lot of his success to Creed Humphrey because of his ability to, read something or pick something up or make an adjustment. That's an underappreciated factor. And again, the best example is Nick. I mean, like with last year, so many people with Connor McGovern were saying, it's not McGovern's fault. The guards were bad. Man, I put that on McGovern. You think that shit would have flown when Nick was there? You think he would have been okay if a guard was slacking or missing his assignment? Man, he would have been in that guy's face on the sideline. That would not have stood. So the center is the leader to me. And I like McGovern, don't get me wrong. He's a good guy, and he's a good run blocker. Excellent run blocker. But he's not that great of a pass protector. I want to move him to guard. I feel like we need a real center. That next Nick Mangold. Somebody that's going to be able to mentor Zach Wilson, grow with him, rookie and rookie, and be able to point those things out like Nick did for Mark. So many things that he missed. So we get Creed Humphrey at 23. That's going to be just like when we had DeBrick and Mangold. We're going to have Becton and Humphrey. And that's going to be our staple for a long time. Now, yeah.
Giving me quivers, bro. See, I like it. I love the offseason because then I could believe like we got a chance because the season happens. But it does really look, to piggyback what you were saying for a second, it does really look like we're actually for the first time in a while paying attention to getting pillars at positions. DN, D tackle, center, left tackle, right? Now we're going to be evaluating a quarterback. We also, I can't wait to see Davis just stiff arm fools to the house, right? Now we're really legitimately, I mean, I was hoping we were going to land Juju. That would have been amazing, but I still think that Crowder has a lot left in the tank. You get Joyner. Now you pair him, like you were saying, with May. It really starting to look, again, only on paper, but it's really starting to look like this is going to be a real team that's going to be able to compete. I didn't mean to knock you off. I just get excited when I hear you get so passionate about some of these guys because it's finally, we have a general manager that understands key positions that take to at least be competitive in games, right? Because I feel like all the good teams are just 500. It's those extra pieces that take you to the 10-6, the 11-5 or a little higher. But I didn't mean to interrupt. Talk to me about 3, 4, and 5.
Of course. No, definitely. I love it. So, yeah, just like, and again, we look at what Joe's done. I mean, I won't get too much into it, but he not just filled holes and filled needs, he built a significantly better team. So now you know we're in the 4-3 as opposed to the 3-4. And when you're in the 4-3, you need two monsters on the interior that aren't just run blockers but are pass rushers, and you need edges. And things the Jets haven't had. Well, they got Carl Lawson. I don't know if you heard today. We just signed Vinny Curry.
Yep. I'm excited.
Yeah. An older veteran. Yeah, you know what? He's going to be 33 in September, but he still has 8 sacks over the last 2 seasons. He's still grades high.
He's a house.
He's still got a great motor.
He's a house of a man.
He is. Yeah.
Even if he could just take blockers away, that's going to be a big dude. And if he could be potentially, I don't know how they're going to run it, but if he could maybe be a third down specialist to kind of keep him fresh. Or like I was saying, the rotation. Like now, what you were talking about having the 3 safeties, now the Jets team is going to be dynamic on defense. There's multiple looks that they're going to be able to give. You're not going to know who's going to be coming. I mean, they could potentially spy with different guys or have safeties come down in the box and blitz like we used to do with Adams. There's going to be a little bit more versatility now. And Robert, he's done so much with so little. I mean, he built a great defense out of nothing. I mean, he turned a terrible Niners team. I think they had the same record. They were 2-14, and the next year they go to the Super Bowl. So I'm not putting that on us with Super Bowl aspirations, but that's how good they turned around or how quickly they were able to turn around that defense.
Mm-hmm. And then we were talking about Carl Lawson before. He went out and got Sheldon Rankins. I mean, this is guys like Sheldon Rankins, guys like Gerard Davis. These were first-round guys back in 2017 that in college were monsters. They were dynamos. Corey Davis, too. These guys were dynamos, and they were all drafted really high. But all of them haven't necessarily translated yet to the NFL. So Sheldon gives them a cheap deal. Gerard Davis gives them a one-year flyer. They could be great. Maybe they live up to that status. And the nice thing about Gerard Davis is when we switch to the 4-3, and we talked about the edge, you need 2 guys that can eat in the middle. Man, Quinnen and I thought it was going to be Quinnen and Franklin Myers. Man, it's Quinnen and Rankins now. Rankins, people don't realize, like that kid, it hasn't 100% translated for him all the time, but he had 1 year in 2018 with 8 sacks. He's consistently one of the best interior rushers in the league.
I couldn't agree more. I watched him as a Saint. He was dynamic.
He is. He's amazing. And what's incredible about him, he's a huge man, over 300-something pounds. He's got a wicked spin move, like fast, like edge rusher fast spin move, like crazy. He's got a wicked swim move as well as his wicked spin move. And he's a bull, too. This guy can literally do everything. He's got every pass rushing trait you can ask for, he can do. And, man, the best way to look at it is if he lives up to the potential he's supposed to be, basically it's like having 2 Quinnen Williams in the interior of that line. That's how we got to look at it. If Sheldon lives up to it, I was tweeted out the other day. If you think about it, the Jets last year only had 31 sacks. It was middle of the pack. But Quinnen and Sheldon, between the 2 of them, could potentially get 10 and 20 alone. Literally, between the 2 of them, they could have 10 to 20. Now, we were talking about Lawson. Literally the same kind of production as T.J. Watt. If he has 10 or 15 sacks, man, that's literally what the Jets did last year among just 3 guys.
I can't wait till we put all these dudes on the scale. Because that is going to be a lot of beef on that defensive line. I think it's going to be a problem. I think teams now are going to have to worry about us coming to town or for them to come into our house. I screwed up a little bit here because I got just 15 minutes left on my SD card, but I wanted to get your opinion now too. The Jets do all of these things, and then we're going to definitely get you back on. I'm back, getting back into the flow. We need to have you back on, not only just talking Jet stuff, but also weighing in on other stuff on the NFL because, like I said,
we've missed so much.
Oh my God, I gotta catch up. But like I said, I'm so happy that I follow you on Twitter because you keep me, up to date, and I'm able to stay current with my team. What I wanted to ask you now is the Jets go out, they do all this stuff. The Bills look like they did some key signings, right? They signed a couple dudes. New England went out there and spent a lot of money. What are your thoughts on this division potentially? And Miami was well ran with Brian Flores last year. What do you think about this division and some of the opponents that we're going to be facing next season?
Now, I'm glad you brought up the Patriots spending because their spending excited me. And their spending excited me because I think for the first time, and I can't even remember how long, the Patriots spent bad. They spent bad money. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. They took a guy like Jonnu Smith, who I love. That was my guy. I wanted that.
Was it you? Somebody tweeted out that we were going after him, and he was obviously. I thought he was phenomenal.
Well, I didn't hear anything, but like I said that we should be going after him because I love the kid. I mean, I was saying, you look at a guy like Jonnu Smith, he's like a wide receiver in a tight end body. He's got wide receiver speed and hands, but he's just physical and very dominant. But the last 2 seasons with Ryan Tannehill, he's had about 400-something yards, which is good. Before Ryan Tannehill got there, he didn't do shit. He didn't do anything. So what does Bill Belichick do with a tight end who only produced at 2 out of 4 years and was, just above average? He paid him $50 million. Like, I figured Johnny was going to get high 20-something, maybe low 30-something, like top. Like, he basically got guaranteed what I thought that contract was going to be. Now, he also went out and signed another tight end. I believe it was
Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry.
It was, yeah. And same thing. I talked about Henry. He was the first-round pick when Henry went. He's never lived up to that. Henry has never even come close to that status.
I agree.
So what does Belichick do? Gives him $37 million. I had to wrap my head around this for a second. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots spent almost just $10 million or so, less than $100 million on just 2 tight ends. That's it.
Wow.
Then they went and paid Matt Judon. Man, Matt Judon is not worth what he got. Anyone would tell you Matt Judon's not worth what he got. So I don't know if Bill's getting old. I don't know if senility is catching up to him. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, unless he's got some ridiculous idea, like something in his back pocket that no one's thinking of, I don't get how you spent $87.5 million on 2 tight ends that, if you're lucky, will give you like 800 yards between the 2 of them probably in the year.
And I also thought Henry hasn't been healthy, so I can't believe you lock him in for $40 million. If he goes down, there goes the whole thing. Then they re-sign Cam. I mean, I love Cam Newton. I think he's the man, but I know you know this. His mechanics are just not great. And he as much as he's tried and he's kept his nose clean off the field, he does a lot of jump passing. That's not the way you get it done. I mean, I know that he has a lot of physical attributes, but there's a way to throw the ball and deliver the ball accurately, especially when you're doing with some of this timing stuff. And I don't know. I think that's actually a really good point. See, that's why I got to talk to you. You walked me off the ledge because here I am. I'm getting nervous, right?
Man, I was laughing. I thought it was hysterical.
The Patriots are signing like all of these quote unquote marquee guys, and we're getting like the Carl Lawsons of the world who really isn't. It's like when you wish for Christmas and you want like Nikes and they kind of get you Reeboks type of thing. And you don't know, but you still know it's a good shoe. You just don't know at the time. And so I'm glad that you're able to talk me down a little bit, because I was losing my mind for a second. I'm like, man, they're putting a lot of, they're trying to compete with us apparently. But it's good that you're saying that they overspent a little bit. I don't want to cut you off. I don't want this thing to shut off mid-conversation. This is what I'm going to tell you. We're going to get you back onto this piece. Hopefully we could do it because I know when's the draft? In 3 weeks or 4 weeks?
No, it's a month, right?
Just about, right?
The first day of the draft is April 29th.
Okay,
and
cool.
If everything goes the way I hope it goes, on April 30th, Zach Wilson and Creed Humphrey will be New York Jets.
I can't wait, bro. We're gonna get you on like maybe a couple days before the draft so we could really sink our teeth in. I'll do some more homework so I don't screw up on air again, and really look at some of these other positions, because I'm excited. There seems at least there's starting to be more competitive players in the top 10 that look like they'll be able to translate, because I really like that kid from Alabama. He was on my board if we couldn't figure out our quarterback situation. But you said it. Zach Wilson's the guy. I'm excited. I can't wait. So thanks so much, man, for coming out. Thanks for spending time with us, and just let everybody know where they could reach you at.
Definitely. Appreciate it, man. So on Twitter, you guys can find me at NYJets. TF Media, because that's the name of my company. I own a company called Take Flight Media. We do Jets writing, Jets reporting, Jets podcasting on my website, takeflightmedia.org, which is also my Twitter page. You can find tons of Jets articles that I've wrote. I have a couple of guys now on my staff that they write as well. They're going to be coming on in the next couple of weeks. I also just started a Jet podcast that I do on Mondays, live on YouTube, 7 p.m. You can find that on YouTube by typing in the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. But on Twitter, it's at Jets TFSF podcast.
From one creator to another, I'll subscribe to your channel if you subscribe to my channel. Thanks for coming on, brother, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate it, my man.
Take it easy, man. Enjoy the evening.
You too.
Stay safe and stay healthy out there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening.